Let's jump right into this explainer and tackle a feeling that, let's be honest, almost all of us know way too well. You know that exact moment when your phone buzzes? It's a notification from your bank app, and you already know what it's going to say before you even open it. It's kind of like walking into a horror movie you've already seen. Well, today we're going to sprint away from that feeling entirely.
Seriously, think about it. You check your balance, it's painfully low, and then, almost like clockwork, on that exact same day, life decides to test you. Your car starts making this brand new, incredibly expensive sounding noise. Or maybe your kid's school sends an email about some unexpected fee. Or worse, your boss sends that dreaded, "Hey, can we talk?" message, and your stomach just instantly drops. You sit there and realize you are literally one random Tuesday away from a total financial disaster.
Now, if you're feeling this way, I need you to know you are far from alone. Bankrate data actually shows that nearly 1 in 4 Americans, that's roughly 24%, have absolutely zero emergency savings. Literally nothing. Zero. So if you're constantly crossing your fingers and praying that nothing breaks because you just don't have the cash to fix it, you are right there in the company of millions.
And to put that into even more perspective, the American Psychological Association's 2024 survey confirms that 64% of adults cite money as their #1 personal source of stress. So if you feel that tight chest and anxiety creeping in when you think about your finances, well, congratulations, you're completely normal. The stress is very real and the math totally backs it up.
So what does this all mean? It means we need to fundamentally flip the script on how we view savings. You see, most people operate on this old belief. I'll build an emergency fund after I get my life together and make more money. But we're arguing the exact opposite here. You build an emergency fund so you can get your life together. It acts as a shock absorber that actually creates the very stability you've been waiting for.
Telling someone to just save 20% is like telling someone who's drowning to try swimming better. That perfectly captures the psychology of what experts call scarcity mode. When you're living paycheck to paycheck, your stressed-out brain naturally prioritizes immediate survival. It ignores future risks and grabs at little comfort purchases just because you're anxious. And that's exactly why generic financial advice usually fails. Telling a drowning person to swim better doesn't work. You've got to throw them a lifeline.
So let's look at our 60-day sprint goal and figure out how to actually build this shock absorber.
To pull this off, we're going to construct a behavioral machine that totally bypasses your need for pure motivation. Because willpower fades, right? Our exact target here is $600 in 60 days. That breaks down to just $10 a day. Now, why 600? Well, it's big enough to handle most of those random Tuesday problems, like a flat tire, a small medical bill, or a surprisingly high utility bill, but it's small enough to actually be achievable even if you feel completely broke right now.
And don't worry, we're not going to find this $10 a day by suffering or starving ourselves. We're going to use a simple 4-part framework to sprint through the next 2 months. Separate, stabilize, squeeze, and supplement. Let's break down exactly how to execute this.
Let's kick things off with day 1 and finding that first $100. The golden rule here? Stop saving where you spend.
You see, day 1 isn't actually about saving the money itself. It's entirely about separation and creating friction. If your emergency fund is just sitting in your regular checking account, it's not an emergency fund, it's a snack fund. Your brain treats visible money as available money. So, remember, willpower is not a strategy, environment is. You must open a brand new account, rename it literally Do Not Touch, and set up an automatic transfer. Even if it's just $3 right after payday, set it up. The goal right now is building the habit, not the amount.
Now, to prove to your stressed brain that this system is actually working, your week 1 mission is to generate a fast $100. How are we going to do that? First, cancel just one subscription you forgot about. We all have one. Next, implement a mandatory 48-hour pause rule on all non-essential purchases to break those impulse loops. And finally, sell one dusty item this weekend. Old headphones, those shoes you never wear, whatever it is. We aren't building your ego here. We are building your emergency fund.
Moving on to week 2, it's time for fixing the leaks with the 3-category audit.
The truth is, most people don't actually have a strict budget problem. They have a leak problem. Leaks are those small, frequent, emotionally justified purchases. You know the ones. I'm so stressed, it's only $12. To stop this, do a quick audit of your last 14 days and sort your spending into 3 columns: must, maybe, and mess. Must is rent and groceries. Maybe is stuff you can temporarily reduce. Mess is pure impulses. Your emergency fund is going to be heavily fueled by simply squeezing the maybe and mess categories for the next 2 months.
Let's look at the actual math for a second, because this is wild. If you cut out $24 on takeout, $12 at the convenience store, and maybe $15 in random online impulse buys, that totals $51 a week. Do that over 8 weeks, that's over $400. You've basically knocked out the vast majority of our $600 goal without even touching your income yet.
Now, groceries are where people often get absolutely wrecked. Usually, it's because food decisions drain your willpower when you're tired at the end of a long day. So for weeks 3 and 4, establish a predictable default food strategy. Pick 6 cheap staple meals and just repeat them to completely avoid decision fatigue. But, and this is absolutely crucial, you must include one planned treat per week. Psychology 101 tells us that total restriction breeds rebellion. Keep the joy, guys. Just plan for it.
All right, let's speed up the math even more by boosting your income.
Cutting expenses and fixing leaks is great, but it only goes so far before you hit a wall. So let's supplement the rest with some quick, realistic income boosts. And look, we aren't asking you to build a business empire here. Just ask for extra hours or overtime. Literally just 4 extra hours a week at $15 an hour is $240 in a single month. Or execute one weekend money mission, like freelancing or delivery driving, with a goal of making $150. You could also negotiate just one fixed bill, like calling your internet provider to ask for a cheaper promotional plan. Yes, it's a short burst of exhausting work, but it buys you freedom from financial fear.
Now, once you actually have this money, you've got to protect it. You must strictly define what an emergency actually is. Seriously, write this down. An emergency is an event that specifically threatens health, housing, transportation to your income, or basic utilities. A big sale is not an emergency. A bad day at work is not an emergency. And if you do have to use the funds, you commit to the replace first rule, making replenishing that money your immediate next goal.
Which brings us to the ultimate goal, becoming unpanickable. Let me tell you about Maya. Let's look at how this methodology actually changes real lives. Maya was hopelessly stuck in a tight monthly credit card loop. She tried all those complicated budgets and just kept failing. So she used this exact simple system. On day 1, she opened that separate account and set up a $5 daily auto transfer. She cut 2 forgotten subscriptions and did 1 quick weekend gig. By day 30, she had accrued $320. And wouldn't you know it, on day 31, her car needed a surprise repair. But instead of throwing it on a 24% interest credit card and spiraling, she paid for it in cash.
Maya's own realization summarizes this perfectly. She said, "It wasn't the $320. It was knowing I could handle life." And that right there hits the nail on the head. Building this fund isn't about getting rich. It is entirely about the profound psychological shift of becoming unpanickable.
We've got to stop failing financially just because we're waiting until we feel ready to save. An emergency fund is not some luxury item you earn the right to have after you're already successful. It is basic, foundational protection. It's exactly like putting on a seatbelt. You put it on before the ride gets bumpy, not while the crash is happening.
So it really all comes down to a choice you're making right now. Take that first step today by opening that separate Do Not Touch account. And as you do, ask yourself this: 60 days from now, will you still be crossing your fingers, totally stressed out and hoping nothing breaks? Or will you be the person who is fully ready to handle whatever life throws at you on a random Tuesday?